Have you ever wondered why medicine is so expensive? Why do some diseases seem impossible to cure? And is it possible that the pharmaceutical industry prioritizes profit over our health? Let's explore its origins. Before the 19th century, medicine was largely based on natural ingredients like herbs and minerals. However, as chemistry advanced, scientists began extracting active compounds from plants. This discovery revolutionized the medical world and sparked further research into how chemical compounds could be used to treat diseases. The term Big Pharma refers to giant pharmaceutical companies that dominate the global drug industry. They produce vaccines, medications, and medical equipment while securing exclusive patent rights. Big Pharma's origins as an industrial force stem from medical and pharmaceutical advancements in the 19th century, driven by progress in chemistry, biology, and production technology. During the mid-19th century, some pharmaceutical companies emerged and grew from small laboratories into large-scale drug manufacturers. At this stage, pharmaceutical companies began implementing industrial production methods to ensure drug quality and stability. This period also marked the transition from traditional pharmacists to large pharmaceutical companies that mass-produce medications. However, the term Big Pharma itself gained popularity in the 20th century, especially after allegations of monopolistic practices, political lobbying, and scandals surrounding the pharmaceutical industry. One of the primary strategies Big Pharma uses to control the pharmaceutical industry is patents. Through this system, pharmaceutical companies can monopolize the production and sale of drugs for years, allowing them to set prices as they wish. A patent is a legal protection granted to pharmaceutical companies for the drugs they develop. With this right, a company has exclusive control over the production and sale of a drug for a set period, typically up to 20 years from the patent application date. The official purpose of patents is to protect costly innovation and research, provide incentives for companies to continue developing new drugs, and prevent competitors from instantly copying a drug. However, in practice, this system is often used to monopolize the market and maximize profits. Large companies patent their key drugs, ensuring long-term profits by selling them worldwide at prices that vary based on market policies. Pharmaceutical companies frequently use a strategy called evergreening, where they extend old patents with minor changes to maintain their monopoly. Some evergreening tactics include slightly altering dosages, for example from 50 milligrams to 55 milligrams, making minor formula changes, for example switching from tablets to capsules, and adding non-essential ingredients to claim a new innovation. This prevents medications that should be available as generics from becoming cheaper, as their patents keep getting extended. When a drug patent is about to expire, pharmaceutical companies often bribe generic drug manufacturers to delay production. For example, in the US, companies like AbbVie and Teva were caught paying billions of dollars to competitors to delay the release of generic versions of their drugs. The impact: patients must continue buying patented drugs at high prices, even though cheaper versions should already be available. Pharmaceutical companies don't just file one patent per drug, but often dozens to hundreds of patents related to production methods, formulations, and applications. For example, Humira, one of the world's best-selling drugs, has 136 different patents, making it difficult for generic versions to enter the market. The impact: other companies struggle to create generics because they must fight multiple patents at once, and also legal processes become extremely expensive, making it difficult for smaller companies to compete. Because pharmaceutical companies have full monopolies, they can set drug prices as high as they want without fear of competition. This often results in developing countries being unable to afford essential medications due to excessive pricing. Since patents guarantee huge profits, pharmaceutical companies prefer researching profitable diseases rather than those that are most needed by society. New drugs are often just modifications of older drugs, rather than groundbreaking innovations. Big Pharma has also been accused of deliberately hiding or delaying the development of drugs that could completely cure diseases like cancer, HIV, or diabetes. The reason is, if a disease could be cured with just one treatment, they would lose lifelong customers. So far, there is no scientific evidence that a cure for cancer or HIV exists being hidden. However, some revolutionary drugs are indeed sold at extremely high prices. The pharmaceutical industry tends to focus more on developing drugs that require continuous consumption, like insulin for diabetes or statins for cholesterol, rather than pursuing permanent cures. Although there is no direct proof that curative drugs are intentionally hidden, Big Pharma's business model is far more profitable when patients remain dependent on their medications. Big Pharma has also been accused of creating or exaggerating new diseases to sell unnecessary drugs and vaccines. Some critics believe that attention deficit disorder, ADD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, have been exaggerated to increase prescriptions for drugs like Ritalin and Adderall. In 2009, the WHO declared H1N1 a major pandemic, but later it was revealed that some WHO members had financial ties to pharmaceutical companies producing swine flu vaccines. Governments purchased large quantities of vaccines, but the outbreak turned out to be less severe than expected. Although there is no evidence that Big Pharma truly creates diseases, they do influence public perception to boost drug sales. Additionally, Big Pharma has been accused of using vaccines as tools for population control, disease spread, or massive profit-making. Some theories claim that the COVID-19 virus was created or exaggerated so companies like Pfizer and Moderna could sell vaccines in large quantities. The facts: Pfizer and Moderna made billions of dollars in vaccine contracts. However, there is no scientific evidence that COVID-19 was created by pharmaceutical companies. Pfizer and Moderna did make huge profits, but this was also due to massive investments in research and production. Some governments even pressured pharmaceutical companies to sell vaccines at lower prices or provide them for free. Move on to the next case. Purdue Pharma, the manufacturer of OxyContin, covered up the addiction risks of their opioid drugs by paying doctors and hospitals to prescribe more OxyContin. As a result, the opioid epidemic exploded in the U.S., causing over 500,000 deaths since 1999. Purdue was eventually forced to pay billions in lawsuits. Other companies, like Johnson & Johnson, were also involved in supplying opioid ingredients to other manufacturers despite knowing the risks. Ultimately, they too had to pay billions in fines. Today, the pharmaceutical industry is dominated by a few corporate giants earning billions annually, such as Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, Merck, and Roche, which control the global market. There's a big question in the Big Pharma conspiracy. Is humanity truly the top priority of this industry? Or is Big Pharma really hiding cures for profit? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more eye-opening videos. See you in the next video.